All right, folks. I am so thrilled today to have you all here and to welcome our special guest, Shantanu, the CEO of Monte Carbon and the winner of the grand prize of the XPRIZE carbon removal, a $50 million prize. Shantanu, welcome.
Thank you. Thank you. It's an honor. Thank you for having me, Tito. It's like homecoming to Air Minor.
Yeah, we did it. We did it. Everybody, community, everybody that's here. I was scrolling through Airminer's Slack back to the announcement of there was a point where there was Elon Musk had said he's putting $100 million in, but it wasn't clear that it was a prize or who was going to run it. And somebody, Yan from Carbon Click said, "Hey, I'm going to bet $100 that whatever this thing Elon announced is, I bet somebody from Air Miners is the winner." And it was just totally, and that was like 5 years ago, right? And Jan, you're going to be listening to this. I'm going to send you the recording if you're not here. But yeah. This is it. So this is really a homecoming for all air miners, for the whole community, for all the competitors, for the whole X Prize team. I mean, just incredible work by Nikki and Mike and Rupas, who's here. Just always, I had sent out a newsletter about this on last week, but just the enthusiasm and the science, like the sexy science, like it's sexy, it's science, that's X Prize. It's like this just perfect balance of it. It's just it lifts up the whole thing because we're all kind of carbon removal nerds, and we're like, hey, let's get the carbon in the ground and stuff. And it's really been wonderful to have X Prize as a leading that whole initiative. And we're here with you, Shantanu, to dive in and hear about the company, hear about what you're doing, how it all went, what you've learned along the way, and most importantly, what's next, and how can this community support you and the company that you've created to gigatons and beyond. So I think most people have probably heard either during your journey or recently heard about what you do. But could you just give us the kind of the short version of what the heck is Monte Carbon and what do you do?
Yeah, so I guess we're an air miner, so I don't need to explain enhanced rock weathering to air miner folks, but but maybe I'll do that just in very, very briefly. So please don't take offense. I do believe that all of you guys are most likely all of you know this, but I'll still tell it. So uh, I mean, we use a process called enhanced rock weathering, where we take basalt, primarily is the rock which we use. We make fine powder of this rock and spread it in agricultural fields. And as we do that, the natural process of rock weathering is accelerated because of the increased surface area of this rock. And naturally, these rocks are essentially reacting with carbon dioxide in the air and water in the rain or in rivers, whatever else. And that naturally forms carbonic acid that reacts with the rock. And in that process, the silicate is essentially dissolved, calcium silicate, magnesium silicates, all these silicates in the rock, and bicarbonates are formed. And these bicarbonates are then retained in the water. And that's the reason water is alkaline in rivers. And that's the reason the oceans are alkaline, because there's so much weathering which has happened in the history of the planet. And so we are essentially accelerating this natural process in agricultural fields. And in the process, all these nutrients which get released, such as calcium, magnesium, iron, copper, zinc, all these things which are in the rocks, are also released to the soil and essentially rejuvenate the soil as well. Specifically, when you have degraded soils, like the ones in Global South, it really, it's really, really effective. So as soil health improves, crop health improves, crop productivity improves, so farmer economic and food security improves. And that's the reason we've basically focused on doing it in the Global South, because this becomes a huge tool for climate adaptation for smallholder farmers. At the same time, we can fund it entirely from the carbon removal credits we generate and get large companies of the US, corporate buyers who are looking for high quality, durable carbon removal, serve them the best scientifically robust carbon removal credits, make the money, and in exchange serve the smallest, most vulnerable smallholder farmer in the planet and make them more secure.
Awesome. I love that. So okay, so that's the primer on what enhanced rock weathering is. Can you tell us about, look, we've had 200 teams that are graduates from Air Miners Launchpad, including Mati. Many of them go out and work with farmers. Can you tell us a bit about what it's like to work with farmers? What have you learned from out in the field?
So I'll be honest, I'm not from a farming family. I did not know how farming worked until 2021. I was kind of only knew what newspapers told me, right? So when I when I went there, I kind of realized working with farmers can be very fulfilling. First of all, that's why I really enjoy what I do, but also can be very tough because they're set in their ways and their awareness and the amount of information they're getting is limited. And also they're very much dependent on what the norms have been and what the procedures they've been following for ages, right? That's what's worked for them and that's what worked for their parents and their parents before that. So they're not changing things very quickly. Uh, so working with farmers is basically proving it every step of the way, showing them that this works and this is not going to be harmful and this is how you can actually benefit. And that proof allows you to scale. That word of mouth from one farmer to another allows you to scale. Theory, science, fancy presentations, good clothes, gimmicks is not going to work. So so working with farmers is all about reality and serving them reality. And yeah, I mean, we work with farmers, smallholder farmers who are really, I mean, some of them are living off $1 a day. Like in Zambia, these farmers are getting wiped out literally, and a lot of them are becoming migrant labor, moving from South Zambia to Northern Zambia and Central Zambia, where the mining and copper industry is. And if we give them a solution which can actually retain them in their own lands and continue their farming, it's life changing. You know, I've seen with my own eyes last year. I mean, enhanced rock weathering, the silicate materials which we put in the field have also got the water retention capacity property. So it actually improves the water retention of the soil. So there are a huge number of farmers who we worked with last year who have essentially got a application field and a control field, right, side by side, and one side of the field has no crop, and the other side of the field has a crop. So it's really, really interesting that these guys would have been wiped out. I mean, they're still kind of half wiped, but at least they have half a crop to survive on. And with that sort of delivery of what we can do and what we have done, now when we go to a farmer meeting in Zambia, 500 farmers turn up. You know, everybody wants it. So it's really fulfilling to have that sort of validation and impact. And I would say, I mean, that's what wakes me up in the morning and wants me to run faster and do as much of it as I can.
I love that story. I mean, it sounds like a miracle, right? Like it's here's the application field and here's the other one, and to see the difference. What we had a question from Ethan. How do you communicate that to other customers or other people you're working with? Is it what's that communication like?
So we have kind of for customers, we've kind of stayed away from this pitch of farmer and impact and all that stuff because we do not want to be, or we are not a charity case. We are the most sophisticated, high-tech, enhanced rock weathering technology which mankind has ever generated. At least that's what we hope we can build, and we're trying every way that we can build that. So when a buyer buys credits from us, we want them to buy it for the highest quality, durable carbon removal. So we don't really tell the farmer story very much to them. We basically show the science and we show the data and we prove the credits we have already generated and the scientific high density data set which we're producing and the models which we're building. So, I mean, and the ERP, I mean, our Matic system is probably I mean, I don't know other people's system, but amongst the ones which I have seen, it's the most advanced. Maybe my limited knowledge, but I think we are trying to build the most high-end, high-tech system which can actually be deployed in very rural, rustic areas, but doesn't lose any sheen, any quality, any. I mean, we're not leaving any stone unturned in terms of the technology to make it the most robust carbon credits out there. So for the buyers, there is no farmer impact story. It's all about quality of carbon credits.
Okay, awesome. So for them, it's all about the carbon credits. On the farmer side, what was Sam had asked? You know, what was it? How did you convince your first farmers to get on board? What was that conversation like?
So that is kind of related to how this whole thing happened, right? So I was a DAC company CEO in 2021, huh? I was running Sustera, which was a milestone XPRIZE winner, by the way. So, uh,
Is
and
that right? A milestone in this prize?
yes, in this prize, I won two prizes in this prize, huh? This prize was
Amazing.
built for
I
me.
did not know that at all. Wow. I mean, I knew you were at Sistera. I didn't realize that was there was overlap there. Wow.
Yeah, we won the milestone prize, and during that time, I was also getting disillusioned by DAC in general. I mean, I'm not saying DAC is bad or is not going to be part of the big mix, but it is very energy intensive, and to that extent, you need to have extra renewable energy to make it work, and that's something we don't have today. Uh, so I was visiting smallholder farmers because of a nonprofit I have been supporting for a long time. And through that nonprofit, I was introduced to some farmers in rural Chhattisgarh, and I saw their condition and all that. I was basically my mind as it starts sparking, enhanced rock weathering could work here, and this could do this, and this could help this way, and the gears start moving. And then I said, okay, why don't I take some rocks and soil samples here and then send it to Yale, and let's see if these guys believe what I'm thinking it could do. And so that's how things happen. And then through that nonprofit itself, I went to the agricultural secretary in my next trip to India of that state, Chhattisgarh. And I told him that because they were working with the government, this nonprofit works with the government in climate advocacy. So I went to the agricultural secretary of the state and I said, we have something which could actually help your farmers a lot. And why don't you let me try it? And this guy was basically, officially, I can't help you. You have no proof, you have no data. So I will not help you officially. You can't have my name or signature anywhere, but I'll connect you to a guy who'll connect you to a guy who'll connect you to a farmer. So,
Amazing.
so, so he connected me to a guy.
Wow.
I went to his office and he said, okay. And he connected to me I mean, basically, this is the organization structure of their agriculture extension office. And then extension officer took me to a village. He said that this is a kind of a nice village. They're forward-looking farmers. Go and talk to them, explain to them their technology, and maybe they'll listen. So I went and pitched to these farmers, and I would say, I mean, the real smallholder farmer didn't buy. And they were like, 2 acres? Are you kidding me, dude? I want if something happens, my livelihood's gonna go. So I'm not gonna touch this with a barge pole. But there were some larger farmers. I mean, larger farmer in that extent, in that context, is like a 10-acre farmer or 12, 15-acre farmer, So still a small farmer, like 5, 6 hectares, uh, but in the context of that village, he's the king of the village, right? He's the largest farmer with 15 acres or 20 acres, right? So so the two, three larger farmers who are more educated as well probably understood more as well because I was coming from the US and trying to explain to them what this thing happens. They were like, okay, I'll give you half an acre. Show me what you can do. I mean, this is a guy who's coming from America and trying to do something good and at least saying a story. And so they were ready to take a risk. So, and I said it's free completely. And I offered them some money actually. I did offer them some money. I said, I'll give you this much money. Just let me try it in your field. And I don't even remember how much money that was the only season I offered them money. So, so I offered them some money and they're like, okay, this guy's offering money. It's an interesting tech. So that's how my first farmer believed me, you know?
Wow. Thanks to whoever, whoever they are. Thank you. I mean, that made that it really that put the company on a completely different trajectory. And to the person who made the referral, right? Those connections
Yeah.
are, it's that made the difference. Like I can't officially do anything, but here's somebody I can introduce you to, and you can take a shot at it. And that's what made it happen. I love that. So we've covered a bit on kind of the what the company does in terms of carbon removal and that. I did want to dig into because we have a lot of people here who are startup founders. Actually, let's see how many do we have. Let me see about the gallery if we have people on video. There's some people on video. How many people here are entrepreneurs? Because I was looking at the sign up list and it was just like, I mean, just so many people here are starting carbon removal companies. So I wanted to ask some questions about that, just in the sense of one of the things is this might surprise some people, but Mati is formed as a your nonprofit organization, um, and I think we've only had a handful of nonprofits graduate from the Air Miners Launchpad Accelerator. Can you share more about your thinking there?
Yeah, so we are a public benefit corp, Mati PBC, but we are controlled by a nonprofit, a 501(c)(3). So the reason for that weird structure is probably related to my history as well, because I mean I've been in private equity in my past. I've been a partner in a fund managing and investing in companies. I've done 2 startups in my previous life, all invested by venture capital. So and this one was started with a different mission, really. As I told you that the farmer was the focus, and we were trying to sort of help the smallholder farmer. Um, and to that extent, I mean, when I started looking at this pathway, I saw that there are a lot of things, a lot of people who have started companies and built them on farmers. A lot of business has started on that domain, but most of them are extractive in some way because uh, the value has to be created for the investors. And that means that, I mean, the value can only be dispersed in one. I mean, you have only this much value. You can either give it to the investors or give it to somebody else, right? So uh, so my thought process was that if I want to be true to the stakeholder of farmers, then I cannot be true to my investors, because that will lead me to directions where I might be running towards larger farms or sort of ignoring farmers who are in most need. I mean, for example, we are in Zambia, which is doesn't have that many farmers in the south. Okay, so for for economic reasons, it doesn't make any sense. We shouldn't be working there. If it were just purely an economic decision, then we shouldn't be in Zambia. But those kind of decisions can only be made when your decision making process is not purely economic. And and I had set a mission to do that. So when I started the company, I really had opportunities to raise private equity and venture capital money, and I made a conscious choice. And I told my friends that this is a great check, large amount of money. Can you keep it for me for 6 months? Let me see if I can survive. If I don't survive, then I'll come back for it. Keep it safe for me.
What did they think? What did people think? Did anybody say anything about
I need to
your
go talk to the guy who I told this to. So I haven't spoken to him yet. So, but uh there's 2 guys who have told I said no to. One of them has already congratulated me. The other one has been very quiet. I need to ping him. So, so, so yeah, I mean, it is kind of an impossible journey to try to scale a company without venture capital. And I have built 2 companies in the past, and I did it with venture capital. And this one was on a different mission, so I chose not to pick venture capital. But that's not an easy path. It's like kind of one hand tied to your back, trying to make a business, right? So,
Yeah, hard mode.
but it makes sense because it's it was what I wanted to do as a mission mode. So, and it worked out. I mean, I think the world conspires when you try to do something which is aligned with what the world needs. And I mean, it's all thanks to the teamwork and my team members who have joined us, sometime taking a pay cut to come and work on our mission, and academics who have come and supported us, and funders who have come in and sort of helped us. That's who made it possible. It's not me, really. I mean, it's been a journey, which is really a journey of a village coming together to make this happen.
Yeah, really that whole community coming together to make it happen. So we're getting a ton of great questions in the chat. Folks, I'm gonna keep asking a couple questions just about what's next for Mati. And then we'll switch over and we can have people you can come on video and actually ask your questions. So I'm not ignoring your question. There's some great ones, and I'm just gonna skip over them for now. So Shantanu, the thing I want to ask you is, I mean, this community has been so supportive of all the competitors, all the startups of Mati. What's next? What's next for the company, and how can this community support you?
Yeah. Sorry, I was mute. So our mission is, I mean, we have we've kind of set a crazy objective for ourselves, as you might have heard and read, and people might have laughed at it as well, but it is what we have set ourselves to, and I'm hoping the world conspires to help us again. So we're trying to achieve a life-changing impact to 100 million farmers' lives, right? And we want to do that by mid-century, hopefully in the next 20 years. And we want to do that through a market mechanism of carbon removal, so that we can do gigaton carbon removal with enhanced rock weathering and help 100 million smallholder farmers. Now, Mati can't do that alone. Mati is just too small and too insignificant to really achieve this kind of a lofty goal and touch so many farmers. So what we need, I mean, this XPRIZE gives us the impetus to really get some of the money to really go after this lofty goal. But we need partnerships. We need to sort of work with partners and farmer organizations and in regions where smallholder farmers exist, and we need to go and do science. There's a lot of science to be done. Enhanced rock weathering is not a copy paste technology. It's not like once you build a widget, you can just copy paste it everywhere. You've got to go and do fundamental science in every new natural system. So, so our journey is next to is really go after all these different regions in the world where smallholder farmers can actually benefit from our work and go to their natural systems, build the science, which is going to be the bedrock of deploying enhanced rock weathering at scale in their natural systems, and then allow for enhanced rock weathering to scale in those regions so that we can reach the 100 million farmer goal. And we will essentially enable third-party private
What is
companies
it today?
we will enable third-party private companies to take our technology and sort of collaborate with us. We will also enable farmer entrepreneurs to do this. I mean, we need to collaborate to succeed. So that's what we're looking for. And we need to go global to touch the kind of numbers we're trying to go to. So hopefully, I mean, we are in 3 countries right now. We'll add a few more this year, and over the next 5, 6 years, we need to add tens of countries. I mean, I'm hoping 30 countries, 40. I mean, depends on how much money and how much work we are able to do, but it's almost it's a wall of work coming at us. So we need to just man up to handle it.
I love
So
the
that
vision. Can you remind us what 3 countries you're working in, and if you can share what are the countries that you're planning to be working in soon, if people have connections or interest or things like that.
Yeah, so we're in Zambia, Tanzania, and India right now. And in all these 3 countries, we have our MRV in fairly good shape. India is fully developed in at least one agroecology zone, which is the rice paddy agroecology, and the other agroecologies we are working on. In Zambia and Tanzania, we are good ways in progress to get the MRVs in shape. Now, we are going to start, I mean, the whole global south is objective. So basically the tropical or semi-tropical, subtropical countries where smallholder farmers typically farm is where we are trying to expand into. So Africa, Sub-Saharan Africa, Central Africa, West Africa is all, East Africa, obviously, we're already targeting. All that is core. Then Southeast Asia, very much so. We want to go and expand there. A bunch of countries have volcanic rock formations, which can be suitable, where science can be done and figured out. And then Central Americas, those countries as well. Some of the Middle East could also be feasible. We want to look at that, though the challenges are around water, because weathering needs water. Without water, it doesn't really work very well. So we have to study the region and design it for those particular areas a bit more, although the rock formations are there in the Middle East as well. So yeah, I mean, anywhere there where there are smallholder farmers and weathering is technically possible, we want to go and build this up so that we can help these farmers.
Awesome. Thank you. Thank you for that. Um, last sort of fun question from me is I was talking with my partner about the win, and we have a like a backyard raised bed, and we're kind of like, well, what if you could get some of that mati dust and it'd just be cool? Like any thoughts on that? Like if people have if you have other ways to any other creative ways to get involved or to support mati or to share the story. I don't know if you have hats yet or things like that, but just is there anything in that world of, you know, Mati magic?
Yeah, I mean, what do you want? We'll get it delivered, man. We'll get it made for air miners. We're here for you. I mean, we have our field. I mean, we are gonna make some more merch, so we can get some merch for Tito and our friends and air miners. No problem.
All right, I put that in the chat. If anybody wants a Mati hat, you can do a thumbs up on Zoom on the chat. So we got that. We have some amazing people lined up for questions. I'm going to turn it over to folks, here. I am looking through, so I'm scrolling through the chat. I see I'm going to be looking for like what questions have some thumbs up. Oh, Jonathan Kirk. Let me see if Jonathan's on video already. Oh, hey, Jonathan. And for other folks that want to come ask questions, if you can come on video, that's going to help me know, like, oh yeah, this person's actually here rather than, just typing or that maybe they're not available. But Jonathan, you want to ask your question that you got a thumbs up from Luis.
Sure. Thank you very much. Yeah, and I know there are a couple of versions of this in the chat as well. So feel free to expand beyond, the sort of basic stuff. But I'd love to hear more about basically how the MRV works. You seem to suggest that it's somewhat different region by region, that it's based, you talked about getting the science in place in different regions. You seem to suggest it's maybe different based on land use by land use. I'd love to know just more about that whole stack, as Ananya put it. How the carbon's measured and tracked, what sensors you use, what's local versus remote,
Yeah,
what kinds of models and techniques and processes and protocols you use. Anything MRV related would be awesome.
sure. So the reason we say that you have to do fundamental science in each new agroecology zone is because the noise is different in every new agroecology zone because nature is very, very heterogeneous system. And enhanced rock weathering is really trying to decipher signal from noise, right? The weathering is happening. There is no question about it, right? So you put the rock in the field and the farmer's productivity goes up 30%. It's not, I mean, it's not out of nowhere, right? Something happened here. There's a produce. And I mean, we see 60% of farmers telling us they didn't need pesticides anymore. The crop was healthy, right? And right besides, there's a control field which has the leaf borer and which has the nematode running around and on the application. So the weathering is happening, but deciphering the signal to noise is difficult. Now, that is where the art and science of figuring out how to, in this very complex natural system, you take soil samples, you take gas samples, you take liquid samples, you can do satellite data, you can do all kinds of stuff to figure out how do you actually have a conclusive, without doubt, scientific way to identify this very, very ppm level signal of weathering happening and then be able to quantify it into a carbon removal credit. Now, what works in Michigan in the energy farm where we did our fundamental research in a row crop of sorghum in a paddy field which is flooded in India, which is 0.3 acres, is very different. The soils are different, the way they're farming is different, the way the interaction of the air and the elements happens with the soil is different. So the noise is different, right? So I can't give you a formula that this is how to do the MRV. What you have to do is basically collect all the data you can. And once you have all the data, then you try to figure out, can I actually see the signal in these data points? And is there a statistically significant beyond a smidgen of doubt that I can actually confirm this signal on a repeated basis, on a scientific basis? And then that is the way that emerges out of that natural system. So that is the reason it's not a cookie cutter that I've built a machine and it can just, you put the dough and the cookies come out. That is not how enhanced rock weathering works because nature is so heterogeneous. I don't know if that helped understand, but we measure everything. We measure soils, we measure the gases, we measure liquids, we have got satellite data which we use We have farmer interviews. We have everything which we can get because we are working with nature.
Jonathan, how was that?
That's a great start. I could ask a million more questions, but that would be a bit unfair.
Okay,
That's great to
I'm
hear. Thank
gonna
you.
ask Ananya to come up, who got like 4 pluses and 2 thumbs up. So Ananya, you had a similar question, but any other questions that you wanna ask?
Yeah, thank you, Tito, and thank you so much, Shantanu, for sharing about your journey and being here with us. Just to build on Jonathan's question, the level of complexity that you mentioned with the heterogeneity is completely understandable. And to add to that further is working with a smallholder farmer. And to add to that is just like the disaggregated, sort of nature of this entire mission that you're solving for, especially at the level of 100 million farmers. So what I'm trying to get to is, how are you thinking about scaling this while maintaining the robustness? Because as you were mentioning, that's what buyers primarily care about, right? So to keep the system scaling and to keep it robust, would love to just hear about your perspective and thought there.
So that's a very, very important question and fundamental to how we are going to build this next stage. And that's something which keeps me up. I mean, this is really, really difficult question. I mean, I don't have an answer. We absolutely need to, I mean, the best way to do everything right is do it myself, right? If I do it, I know exactly what I'm doing and it's going to be absolutely correct because I know what I did. But then the second level of, okay, I've taught somebody else in my team who I control, I manage. Okay, he's doing it. I know I can trust him. I've trained him. He's going and doing it. And then you give it to a third person. I'm still paying the salaries. These guys are incentivized the right way. They're going to do the right thing, right? So that's the stage we are at right now. We've got people who are trained. We've got them fully tested, multiple audits done. We're paying their salaries. We've put the right incentive structure for them to do the right thing. We've got a ERP system which has checks and balances for every little bit they can do and cheat on. We're trying to control all those things. And it's working. It's working for now, right? Now, as I give it to third parties, I'm really, really scared because a third-party profit-seeking company will essentially want to cut corners, save money on every opportunity, and we have to ensure that they deliver the quality which we want them to deliver, so that enhanced rock weathering doesn't become a bad story. And so I'm building a bunch of AI, machine learning, video interpretation. I'm trying to sort of figure out how to create checks and balances with technologies. I am running a bunch of experiments to figure out how to really make sure that they cannot cheat. But to every rule there is every new control you put in, there's another new cheat which is developed, right? So this is a learning journey. We have to do a lot of this stuff and learn from where we are failing, and we'll continue to learn for the next 3-5 years. But hopefully the cheats will become smaller and smaller, and the errors will become even more negligible, and we will build a very robust system eventually, which can be scalable. At least that's the thought process. Hope.
Thank you.
Awesome. Thanks, Ananya. Good question. You should start a podcast or something. Let's see. So I've got a queue up here, so I'm just going to let people know which. So we've got Ethan, Kolja, Andre, Craig, Carl, and Jacob. That's the order. So Ethan, coming up, and welcome any other questions in the chat and thumbs up in the chat and all that sort of stuff. So Ethan, take it away.
Thank you very much, Tito. And thank you both for your time today. I'm curious, when you speak about the structure of your organization and specifically the nonprofit and public benefit entities, how did you structure funding? How did you get the right amount of funding to deliver your high quality project?
So, so Ethan, as I said, I mean, it was not really a very planned way of doing things. It kind of came together as we progressed. initially this project, the public benefit corp did not exist initially. I was just working inside a nonprofit as a project. I started this as a project inside the nonprofit. We actually participated in XPRIZE as that project. The company came later, right? So, but when we started signing carbon removal credit contracts, the nonprofit was like, we don't want to be delivering carbon credits. What are you talking about? What is this? So we don't want to be liable to delivering credits. So then we created a structure where the carbon credits delivery liability sat in this public benefit corp, which in turn was still controlled by the nonprofit, but the liability sat in an entity. So it kind of evolved really. The mission kind of ruled over the structure, and the structure evolved based on what was needed. And the money is always short. I mean, all of us startup guys, what the position I'm in today is very unique, and otherwise I'm always be raising, you know. Always fundraising. That's kind of our default position. Uh, so this whole last couple of weeks and what's this happened is unique. Where actually, when I heard this news as well, I was fundraising. I was at a conference fundraising. So, so as startup guys, we are always fundraising. We're always trying to sort of figure out how the next 5 months are going to be funded, and if the 5 months are funded, and the next year is going to be funded. So that's our lives, man. So yeah, the structure evolved, and it's not really something which we planned for.
Yeah.
That makes a lot of sense. Thank you.
That's great. Great question, Ethan. It makes me curious because I'm like, I want to know like what is the moment that you found out? Did like somebody jump out of a cake or like did somebody like well yeah, what was the was it like you
I
just
think Shantanu has an interesting story.
Rupa knows. Okay. If you're up for sharing it, I have no idea.
Nah, nah.
Ethan, it got me thinking. I was like, I wonder what it was
I
like.
think it's worth mentioning. It adds some color to the whole thing.
So I was Sarupa has already put me on the spot, so I have to tell you. So
Rupa's from the XPRIZE team, as mentioned before.
so so I was in Oxford at the time. I was essentially at this Coal World Forum where a bunch of philanthropists turn up, and climate was not a big topic, but we also serve farmers. So I was hoping that I could get some money out of these guys and raise some money. So that's what I was doing. And I mean, we are pretty scrappy, you know. We operate on a shoestring, and we've continued to do that. So even though I've lived in the private equity life, I've lived the McKinsey life, I'm doing a startup, so I got to be scrappy. And when I landed in Oxford, I mean, I didn't have a hotel, and the hotels were like ridiculously expensive. So I could only find a 4-person dorm room in Oxford to put myself up. So the night before, I mean, there was a 19-year-old above me who was playing video games till like 1 a.m. And there was a guy sleeping on the side. He was a yoga teacher. He introduced me, and then had something very interesting to smoke, I think. So before he slept, so he had traveled the world. So I was like, I slept there, and I woke up in the morning. I mean, I had a 6 a.m. So I was like up till 1 with that guy playing the games, and then I had to wake up at 6 a.m. And I was like, when I woke up, I was like, I am 44 years old, and I've lived my life, and I've never lived in a dorm room for the last 15 years. And am I doing this right? Should I be rethinking this kind of pathway which I've chosen? And I said, okay, that's fine. I mean, the morning started, and I went on to my business, and then 3 p.m. we had a call with XPRIZE. I mean, it was pre-scheduled, but we didn't know what was going to happen. I mean, I was expecting they would come up and say, well, your model is not a private equity model. You kind of got funded. So here's a consolation prize because we like you. You're doing some good work. I mean, that's what I was expecting. That's what we had set our expectations to, you know. So, but then they gave us the prize, and I was like, holy shit, miracles happen, you know. And I was like, maybe God was like, okay, enough. This guy has really scraped the bottom now. Let me give him a break, huh?
Wow. Thank you for sharing that. I really appreciate hearing, I think we all do, like hearing what how it actually was. And I want to acknowledge Ethan for asking the question that just set that whole chain of conversation off. Oh, that's beautiful. All right, next up, I want to have Kolja come on up.
Hi, Shantanu. My name is Kolya from Technocarbon Technologies.
Hey, Kolja.
You know what we do? We make new building materials from basalt and gabbro stones
Oh,
that you are using on your fields
oh, wow.
to replace concrete and cement and all these CO2 emission
Very
materials.
nice. We have plenty of basalt on this planet to serve us both.
I
Like,
know
there's too
that,
much.
and when we cut our stones to make these building materials to replace the damn CO2 emitting concrete and steel, we produce a lot of stone powder. By the way,
Give it to me.
that you can utilize for spreading on cropland and wherever, even on industrial fields. And it comes for free out of our process because our materials are as cheap as concrete and reinforced cement.
Yeah,
And
pretty
I
cool, man.
really would like to talk to you whether it's possible to build a business model not only based on something that is for free, but we have patents on all these technologies that we can utilize to produce business models,
Building materials.
so that you don't need to run after fundraising anymore.
Yeah, I mean, please mail me. I would love to connect and see how we can collaborate. We are working with a lot of quarries already, and this could be an interesting synergistic thing.
Fantastic.
Awesome. Love that connection. Good to see you, Kolya. Kolya, I met in like an underground tunnel in Azerbaijan, like totally randomly. I was coming down an escalator, you were going up. I forget what it was, but it was just like somehow we started talking about carbon removal and going up.
It was Kjell who brought us together. Leave it in the ground, lingo. You remember? He mentioned us to you, and then we
Oh,
went
that's right.
and we had these bending materials of gabbro stones, basalt stones with carbon fibers made from CO2.
That's right. I had met somebody and I said you should be on the lookout for these guys. And then we were underground. Awesome. Glad you're here, Kolya. I want to bring up Andre, another Air Miners Launchpad graduate.
Hey folks, thanks for having me. Congratulations, well done. By the way, I can relate. You got your suit on, you're at the conference, wherever, you shake hands with everybody, then you go back to your dorm and you take it off and you're back to your own reality. Man, that just puts you in your place. The question I have is, you were probably doing something when the XPRIZE competition was announced, and then you applied. Did you adjust something or change something to become more competitive as the competition progressed?
I started a new company as the competition progressed. Remember? So I changed everything. Actually, it was not for the competition though. So I moved from my DAC company and started an enhanced rock weathering company. So I did that because I believe that this is a more scalable pathway for this decade. DAC is going to be part of the solution, but probably after we have plentiful renewable energy in the long run. So this decade, next 15, 20 years, enhanced rock weathering can really get to gigaton scale faster and impact a lot of people as well. So yeah, I mean, I shifted gears. I moved from a DAC company and started a enhanced rock weathering company because of I believed in this pathway. And I mean, we were already behind. I mean, we had milestone prize had already happened. A lot of companies had already, I mean, I had participated already for a year in the other company.
Yeah.
But still in the second stage, we just applied. We said, why not? You know, it's still open to new entrants. So let's go in and try it and see what happens, you know? So
Good on you, man.
in fact, for my chief science officer, Jake Jordan, would tell you, when we were filling up the application for the top 20, he was like, why are we even trying this? This is a waste of time. We gotta focus on our work. I mean, why are you spending all this? And so he basically given up, you know, he's like, I mean, he did his part, but then he was like, you guys are nuts. This is not gonna happen. So he's almost left it. But you know, you miss all the shots you don't take, is what I say. So you gotta take every shot on the way and kiss every frog to turn into prince. Some of them do.
Oh, I love that. Nice question, Andre. Also, just a note, I love Rupa's like jumping in, and Rupa, if you have any other spicy questions or comments you want to throw in.
I mean, generally, I think I did like pour over the Air Miners alumni list because this competition was open since 21 since we launched. So we didn't really close entry until, I don't know, a couple years ago. So I was trying to just find the companies that, why aren't they, you know, why didn't they apply in the milestone round? They're already doing this. And so I had to do a lot of like sourcing and LinkedIn cold messages, just stalking people. So I will say your list was very key in us finding a lot of people that weren't in the beginning phases of the competition. But I do remember seeing Mati on that list as well, and I hadn't been in touch with anyone from them. Then I put it together that it was the same Shantanu from Sistera. I just didn't know, but I just can't sing enough praise about this community. And I think, you know, when Air Miners launched and when we launched, I think we knew there was going to be a lot of synergy there. And thank you again, I guess, for starting Air Miners and for the people that have gone through the program and anyone else that wants to go through it, stick with it. It's very, very worth it.
And Rupa's emails were instrumental because that's what reminded us that we can still enter this competition.
Yeah, I was like, what? Are you going to compete or not? Do you want to be do you want to be in the finals? You've got to get this in by X date, otherwise it's closed. And then I'll just jump in quick. I was lucky enough to go to India and visit some sites in Sioni in central India for the Mati team with our MRV team. So yeah, that visit was amazing. I think just the social license required to do what they're doing is crazy. Like, it's just getting that trust and buy-in to be able to scale something this big was truly great for us to see. You know, we got to meet with farmers. I think there were maybe like a dozen or so that got together, and we were able to ask them directly, you know, how has this impacted your life? Like, why did you trust them? What has this done for your, you know, your families? And it was really, really cool to hear directly from them. And also, besides just, you know, our judges obviously rating Mati, you know, high on all our categories of sustainability, cost, scalability. You know, I think just the scientifically rigorous approach to their MRB was what really stood out, I think, among the rest of the teams. And I will say, besides that, just the passion and your team is just amazing. So praises all around. We were very happy to have that call with you. And I know I was very vague. I just had XPRIZE update 20 times for our calls, because we had to have calls with all 20. So we did the winners first and then the rest later. But that was very cool to tell someone that they won $50 million over Zoom. So that was a highlight for me. And even our first runners up, you know, net zero, that's the biggest award XPRIZE has ever given out in our 30 years. So we're all still very excited about the last 4 years, but especially the last, couple months has been awesome. So I'm happy to answer any questions about the competition or XPRIZE or our judging process or any of that if anyone is interested. I'm in the AirMiners Slack, but I can also put my email in the chat here if anyone has questions.
Thank you, Rupa, and thank you to the whole XPRIZE team and community and all the judges and everybody that made this happen. Thank you from everyone that's in the AirMiners community. It's really been a beacon and a light for so many of us to get out of bed and say, hey, you know what? Let's give this a shot. I want to invite up, we've got Craig, Carl, and Jacob. And if anybody else has any other questions, we've got 7 minutes, so let's get it moving.
Hi, Shantanu. Congratulations, and thank you for sharing your inspiring story. You said that you're wanting to go into Southeast Asia. We are working with rice, and we have actually a technology that can go into boggy rice fields and collect straw and apply basalt at the same time. So there's a nice synergy there. I'd love to chat with you about that. But I think for general...
Also, quick note, Craig's a graduate of AirMiners Launchpad as well. So you have that in common.
Thanks, Tito. So my question, I think, would probably be quite broadly applicable to everyone here. A lot of the CDR credit generation, a lot of the cost in that is involved with the MRV, measuring to the nth degree how much CO2 you've removed, which there's a lot of discussion now around how scalable is that. Do you see there's a role in the future or a strategy that you might uptake in the future for just majoring on the benefits for the crop and minimizing having a sort of a general range of acceptable CDR for every ton of material that you spread to make it more scalable so that more of the money is being spent on actually putting this stuff out where it can bring benefit and less on the MRV?
You have presented the end game. That is the end game. So that is what we all want. We don't want to spend money on this measurement. This is a waste of time and energy, but that's what we need to build the confidence of the buyers that this is real. Once it has become a standard system and the models are advanced enough that based on the properties of the material and the soil properties, you can just actually give a very robust answer of the CDR, then you can just do the work and that's it. And the work is much more lower cost and the cost will be significantly low. That's the reason we are the winner, because the pathway for eventual MRV cost reduction in enhanced rock weathering is so significant that our cost in the long run can be very, very low. I mean, not like nature-based low, but definitely below $100. We can reach it comfortably. So, but that means that we have to go through the journey of collecting a lot of data and making these models very proficient so that the predictive power of the models is so good and so trusted by buyers. That's the more important thing, that the buyers believe the model and buyers are saying, yeah, I'm fine. This is happening because the weathering is happening. I mean, there's no question about it because you can see the effects, but the buyer needs to trust what he's buying and be able to put it on his balance sheet. And for that, we need to generate the credits. And even today, I have a model I can use, but even I don't trust that model today. So I can't show it to a buyer at the moment. But eventually, the models will be so advanced that you can essentially do it exactly as you pictured.
Okay, yeah, so basically be model-based within this range, but you're not having to put all the equipment in every field that you're working in the future. Yeah, that's great. Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Okay, so we've got 2 other folks to ask questions, but first I want to, we have some quick announcements. So if folks can, if Jacob and Carl, if you can stick around after that, that works. And if anybody else has any other questions. But I did want to have Sue. Sue has an event she wanted to let the community know about. So you're talking, but it doesn't say you're on mute, but I don't actually hear you.
There we go.
There we go.
Two-step process. I'm sorry. So I'm working with the Open Air Collective and on their carbon removal challenge. And our next webinar on Tuesday is very exciting. It's with 10 Cents Carbon X program, which has tens of millions of dollars in grant funding for a program where the applications are due by the end of the month. And they are focused on CDRs, CCUS, and long-term energy storage. So please jump on that call if you want to find out about funding. This is the second time, their second go-round. This is V2.0 for them. So they are serious about this and want to give their money out. So I just put the link in the chat again. Please join us. Thanks.
I'll second that 10 cent shout out. We just did a webinar with them as well. They've got money to give away, so check it out.
Let's go.
Yeah.
Awesome. Thanks, Rupa. Thanks, Sue. Okay, folks, that's the event. I'm going to go back to questions with Carl and Jacob. I look forward to seeing many of you around the Carbon Rule world. I'll see many of you at Carbon Unbound New York in a couple weeks. So looking forward to seeing you there. And with that, let's go back to Carl.
All right.
And Shantanu, do you have a couple minutes? Because it is 2:59. I wanted to...
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, cool.
Great. Thank you, Shantanu, and congrats to you and the team. Amazing. I was so excited when I heard the news. And having seen you on This is CDR, I think a year and a half ago, I thought, oh, I remember those guys. Yeah. And even Sestera before that. And so that was great. I want to do a +1 on the merch thing. So I brought my show and tell. Okay, I got this. And then I've got this, which Tito handed me.
Oh, wow.
Actually, he threw it at me.
I threw it at your head.
Carbon Unbound on the West Coast. And
aggressive.
it was awesome. No, but seriously, you mentioned we're in the bubble. Like everybody here is a carbon removal nerd, whatever. Fantastic. One of the things I like to do is get outside the bubble and get more awareness being raised about this. And so I was wearing that Basalt t-shirt on a ferry ride across Long Island Sound, and this woman walks up to me and says, "Why do you love Basalt?" And my answer was, well, here's the problem. This ferry ride is only an hour long. And sure enough, by the other end, we hadn't even exchanged contact info. We were hurriedly, doing so. And to me, getting the message out that things can happen, smallholder farmers can have this tremendous, beneficial result of engaging. Oh, and by the way, there'll be less CO2 in the system afterwards, and that has great long-term benefits as well. So I think anything we can do to elevate and get outside the bubble. When you guys were getting coverage on ABC News and you're on the New York Stock Exchange floor, and it's like, yes, we need more of this. And I remember, Tito, you posted a New York Times front page. I think it was Carbon Run, maybe last September. The more of that can happen, the better, because we need the whole world to sort of be aware of this need and possibility for all the benefits. So I just wanted to put a shout out for merch, especially.
All right, thanks, Carl. And we've got there were 18 thumbs up on the merch, by the way, Shantanu, for specifically the Mati hat. So that's just letting you know the data. And then Jacob, we've got Jacob's up.
Thanks, Tito, and thanks, Shantanu, for all the insights you've shared. It's actually super exciting for me because I just finished the Air Miners Boot Up program like this week.
All right, welcome.
And so I'm pretty new in the space, but actually, coincidentally, as I was going through the program, ERW was the CDR pathway that I was most excited about. So this is like perfect timing, and just really, really amazing to hear everything that you've shared with regards to what Mati has done. Just for my question, I was curious if you might be able to share a little bit about what you think would be the biggest barrier, whether it be like financial, technical, or regulatory, that you think that Mati would need to overcome in order to be able to successfully scale its operation in the next 3 to 5 years.
I think I don't think, because the co-benefit is so high, I don't think regulatory barriers would be, even if they are there, long lasting. I think because the farmer pull is, at least where we are doing, the regulators will fall in line because co-benefit is so high. Then in terms of financial, that remains challenging for all of us. It's not climate startups are difficult. Money raising is difficult. Selling credits is difficult, especially durable CDR, the expensive CDR, which we're doing. Until we can reduce the cost significantly, it's difficult. So that remains the biggest challenge, to get customers to buy credits and to raise money for scaling up. And I think overall for us, the market is huge in terms of scaling potential. The science is difficult, and I worry about enhanced rock weathering being perceived to be too easy by a lot of people. It is easy on surface, but it's a lot of very careful science that's required to do it right. So I would say enhanced rock weathering still has the hurdle of that it is not accessible to anybody. It just needs that science stronghold before you can actually build that, as I said, signal to noise filter. So eventually, as these models become prevalent everywhere, then the science barrier would be lowered, and then you can just go and start an enhanced rock weathering company, no problem, because you have a model already. But at the moment, as the models are not there, you have to build those models, which is a hurdle, which takes time and data. So in ERW, I would say money is problem number one, and then science problem number two, and the rest are not as big a problem. Money being customers buying credits, and money being financiers giving you funding.
I see. Thank you.
Awesome. Thanks for the question, Jacob. Jacob, the next boot up is coming up. So AirMiner's boot up, for people that don't know, it's like a 6-week introduction to carbon removal. There's about 1,000 people that have graduated from it. It's free. It's online. Jacob, is there anything that you want the community to know about AirMiner's boot up if they haven't heard of it?
Yeah, I think it's just a super great opportunity to learn more about the CDR space, and honestly to be able to learn in a very I think open and collaborative environment with other CDR enthusiasts. For me personally, I work mostly in the banking and then the fintech space, so very far away from all of this, but I kind of really wanted to pursue. I've always had a passion for environmentalism and wanted to get into climate tech. So I decided to take a leap of faith, but wasn't really know where to be able to look to learn more about the space. And I just found this was a really great opportunity to kind of not only learn through all of the different resources that are shared every week, actually twice a week through the different modules, but also being able to kind of expand upon your learning with all the other people that are in your Air Miners Boot Up group. And it's really great because I've actually ended up making really great friends we started our own monthly meeting even after Boot Up to connect and talk more about like our CDR journey. So it's been an incredible opportunity. I would highly recommend anyone who's interested in learning more about the CDR space to kind of take part in the program.
Wow. Thanks, Jacob. That's really great to hear. Dang, I'm like, we should cut that and make that like an advertisement for Boot Up. Well, look, everybody, the next one starts, the signups are closed on May 12th. So if you have friends, if you have people that are curious about carbon removal, it's a great way to get started and be surrounded by other people like Jacob, who are, gonna be a part of a community and future friends and colleagues and co-founders. So that's AirMiner's Boot Up. And if you're starting a carbon removal company, we've talked about AirMiner's Launchpad, our accelerator program. I believe the applications for the next batch close. You have to look on the website. I think it's mid-July. So if you're starting a carbon removal company, check out the accelerator program. And really great spending all this time with you today, Shantanu. I'm so glad congratulations. We all love you and love everything that's next for Mati and for the planet. I acknowledge the whole XPRIZE team. Rupa, I'm so glad you were here. and everybody for the great questions. I look forward to seeing you all at the next Air Miners event.